Hi, this is Sturdy McKee from sturdymckee.com, and today we're going to talk about what an A player is and if you've ever made a bad hire. So have you ever made a bad hire? How long did it take you and your business to recover from that decision? We've all heard that a single bad hire can cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and the U.S. Department of Labor estimates the average cost of a bad hire is about 30% of the individual's first year potential earnings. Now, there are ways to mitigate this, and we're going to show you some of how to do that. But, but think about that for just a second. If you've got a business that grosses $800,000 or $8 million, and you're hiring someone for $60,000 a year, one single bad hire can cost you as much as $20,000 or more. 200K bad hires could cost you over $60,000. So that's one $60,000 a year job, a $30 an hour or less job. One bad hire can cost you $20,000. And that doesn't even take into account the lost time on your part, the frustration for you and your team, and the damage to your brand. Think about the way your customers or patients or clients are going to respond to that bad hire. So wouldn't it be great to avoid bad hires in the first place? So I'm going to show you the first step in reducing and avoiding making bad hires. So why am I doing this? Well, number one, I've made bad hires, and I still do occasionally, as you'll see. You'll see what the numbers look like, but I know the frustration, the stress, and the cost firsthand, and I want to help you avoid that. So my why is to help people, and I help business in my business. I help business owners and entrepreneurs to achieve their goals, to double their profits and triple their time off, and put systems and processes in place. That's what I do now, and I love helping business owners to implement these types of systems and make sure that they have operations that run smoothly and well. So helping you with this first step makes me feel good. And if you're just starting out or don't have a lot of time, I'm hoping that this first step will help you with your hiring. If you have a ton of experience with hiring, I'm hoping this helps streamline and give you some kind of structure and process so you can make better and more consistent and scalable decisions around who to hire. So Jack Daly says that a CEO or an owner or entrepreneur's job is comprised of these three things. The vision, so the vivid vision, painted picture, that place you want to go, that place in the future, what success looks like for your vision, the top of your mountain, for your business rather, the top of your mountain. Your vision, where you're going to end up, is the thing that you create as that entrepreneur, owner, and CEO. Number two is key people in key roles. And you can think about this as the right people in the right seats on the bus. The Merry Pranksters analogy, Jim Collins uses this as well. But the right people in the right seats, that's another key component or key role of a CEO, owner, entrepreneur. And the third one is developing, designing, nurturing, championing the culture, being the cheerleader for the culture once it's in place. So what we're talking about right now with selecting and hiring A players is really directly affecting number two, key people in key roles. That will be fairly obvious, but it's also really, really impactful around the culture. Because if you bring the wrong people in to your team and your organization, they can do horrible things to your culture. So if you're really frustrated and fed up with bad hires holding you and your business back, I have a very valuable offer for you at the end. You don't have to stick around for that though. You still get the free stuff here anyway. So let's get on to the first step. The first step is understanding what makes a great employee, what we call an A player. So how do you define an A player? And how many do you have on your team right now? And how many of your members on your team are not A players? And what do you do about those people? So that's what I'm going to share with you right now for free, and you can share this with your friends and colleagues. So if you find this next part helpful for you and your business, one of the nicest things you can do is share this useful information with someone you know and who's facing the same challenges you are. So what is an A player? An A player, most people would agree, is someone who exceeds your expectations. Now, that means they're not someone who just consistently delivers exactly the minimum requirements of their job, but someone who goes above and beyond, who surprises you, makes you happy they're part of your organization, thrills your customers, gets the rest of your team excited they're on your team. Okay, they go above and beyond. But that's not all. Okay, we're going to use a salesperson. We're going to pick on sales for just a second because usually the metrics and the numbers that they have to hit are very, very clearly defined. So you can have salespeople who are achieving their numbers, but there's another thing. And what is that other thing? The other thing that they do, that A players do, that is less well understood, is that they live your core values. So what does that mean? So whether your core values are documented and articulated and come alive in your business or not, whether you've defined them in a behavioral way or not, your organization has rules that you all live by. You have values that you expect of each other, a code of conduct, the ways that you expect people to behave, whether that's be on time or be courteous or go out there and be aggressive or whatever the rules are in your organization. And when someone doesn't meet those values, someone's in opposition to those values and their behaviors are in opposition, that's kind of a violation. That tends to offend people or upset them. You know that they're not fitting in well, regardless of what their metrics or their numbers might look like. So A players exemplify those behaviors, all those rules that your organization lives by. The A players are the example of those behaviors. They demonstrate those every day. So I really like New Zealand's rugby team's core values. We'll go into that. They're a great example, and they can help us understand the second point about living the core values. So first off, you should know that the All Blacks, as the New Zealand national rugby team is called, have the winningest record in international sports since 1903. That's not a typo. The New Zealand All Blacks have won over 77% of all their international matches since 1903. Starting in 1903, their first loss was in 1905. Their next loss was in 1910. Now, to be fair, they tied twice in 1907 and 8, between 1905 and 10. But look at that record. Now, think about that for just a moment. A country with the population the size of Phoenix has dominated international rugby for over 100 years. How is that even possible? So there are two things. One is they have articulated and documented core values. And these are their core values: sweep the sheds, follow the spearhead, champions do extra, keep a blue head, leave the jersey in a better place. And if you want to read more about the All Blacks core values, you can go over to my blog and get some explanations around what each of these actually means. But and also core values in general, but these core values are the things that their teams live by. Their team members for 100 years, over 100 years, have lived by. Now let's take the core value, leave the jersey in a better place. Now this is a metaphorical, behavior-based core value. This does not mean to literally put the jersey somewhere, okay? But to take that symbol of the team and its history and to raise it even further. So how do you do that? Well, you bring honor to the team. Okay, both on and off the field. You leave the jersey in a better place. How do you do that? Through your behaviors. Now, you might treat people with courtesy and respect. You might help children visit hospitals, raise money, awareness. You might expose kids to the game who couldn't afford it otherwise, and they need a little inspiration. It's the actions, it's the behaviors, it's the actions of the individual that show their commitment to the value. It's not just how fast they can run or how well they carry the ball. So now here's a graphical way of looking at that. The All Blacks, they hire all stars, okay? They pick the best players they can, but they must fit with the core values. So you can take a piece of paper and write this out, okay? This is how we're going to look at these different players. So who do you want on your team? Well, you want people over here. You want people that exceed the expectations and that live the core values. What if you could get more of those people on your team? Now, who do you have on your team right now? Why don't you take a second, pause this video, and draw this on a piece of paper. Draw this diagram. Now map your current team. Go ahead, hit pause. We'll give you a second to come back. So welcome back. Have you mapped out your team? Is it all over the place? And think too that this is an analog skill. You're not going to put everybody in one spot over on the top right. If they exceed expectations and live the core values, maybe they exceed the expectations just a little bit. Maybe they're really strong on the core values, or maybe they're kind of strong on the core values, so they're a little farther to the left, but they really do a great job. Expectations are higher up. So think about that as you map these folks out. And then this will give you an idea of who the A players are. A players live over here in the top right. They exceed expectations, they go above and beyond, they delight you, and they live the core values. Their behaviors are perfectly aligned with what you expect. So how many of your team that you just mapped out are A players? And what do you do with your A players? Here's a hint. You take care of them. You foster them, you nurture them, you reward them, you recognize them. You find out what makes them tick. You find out the things on their bucket list, what do they want to be able to do, and you help them to grow personally and professionally. Make sure that they stick around because these are the people that are powering your business. So how many of the people that you mapped out are B players? B players are going to live down here in the bottom right quadrant. Now, realize too that when you first hire somebody or you have a younger professional, they might be in the B player category for a while. Okay, they haven't learned how to really go above and beyond yet, but they should still be demonstrating the behaviors consistent with your core values. Okay, so what do you do with the B players? Well, you coach them, you help them, you advise, you teach, you provide resources, you do all this stuff so they can be successful. You want these people to acquire the skills or get the resources or have the practice that they need to really exceed expectations and go above and beyond and become the A players in your future. So C players, who are they? And what do you do with them? So the C players live down here in the bottom left. Okay, they don't meet your expectations and they don't live your core values. I'll give you 1 second to think about what are you going to do with these people on your grid. Well, you free up their future. They are dragging your organization down in every which way. And they might be fine people in some other context, but they are not doing their job and they are not a fit for your organization. So now what about the B CV players, the B core values players? These are the people over here on the top left. So they might be hitting their numbers. Now we're back to maybe the salesperson or somebody who's in a productivity minded job. They're hitting their numbers, but they're not behaving in ways that are consistent with the core values. So they're holding things back despite the fact that one of your values centers around integrity. They hold information and use that as a source of power despite the fact one of your values is really around communication and candor and listening and understanding. This person it makes everybody tense, but they're hitting their numbers. So this tends to be the most controversial group for business owners, particularly in entrepreneurs. I want to keep this person around, and this is the quintessential sales guy problem of someone who is not a fit in the company, but they're crushing their numbers, and you just think, oh, if they leave, I'm going to lose all this money, so I can't let them go. But think about it this way. Are you ever going to change their values? And are you going to change their behaviors? So like we said, this is the controversial group. This is the group that business owners want to argue over. Some people want to defend, and they'll say, no. Well, if you think they're in opposition to your core values and you want to keep them around anyway, then those aren't your core values. Okay, so if they are your core values and you tolerate these behaviors, what message are you sending to your A players? Are you telling your A players that your core values, the things that you say are important, they're just really not that important? And while it can be painful, the answer of what to do with this group is to free up their future. They can go play on another team. And if you're still in doubt, another way to look at this is to ask yourself, would you enthusiastically rehire them today? So again, you've mapped out all these people. You've got this group in the upper left that there's going to be some debate and internal dialogue and argument with your business partner or what have you around. But freeing up their future, imagine what that'll say to your A players. What impact will that make on their morale and on your culture? And again, if you've got a core value, something centered around integrity, and you're not taking care of those values, not causing any consequences to happen for that person, what are your A players saying about you? But what will they say about you when you let this person go? And the most common response is, wow, what took you so long? So imagine what would happen to your business growth and your business trajectory if you could now find and hire more A players. Think about the impact on your business if you could replace those B, CV players and those C players with A players. What if you could swap them out? What would be the impact on your business if you could avoid hiring some of those B, CV, and C players and instead hire more A players in the future? Think about this in sales. Think about this in management, in technical or clinical roles. What would that do to your business? What would happen to your business if you could find 1, 2, 3, or 5 more of your very best employee? Take that person and add 5 more of them to your company. Would your company grow? What would happen if you could find 2, 3, or 5 more of your very best employee? Would your customers be happy? Would they tell other people? Would there be a line out your door, literally or figuratively? Would the phone be ringing off the hook? Would you have more orders than you could fulfill? Wouldn't it be great to have people lining up to do business with you? So what impact would a full team of A players have on your time and on your stress? Is having a full team of A players starting to sound pretty good? Or does it sound like an impossibility? Are you thinking, well, yeah, that sounds great, but how in the world do I find and get more A players on my business to grow my business, reduce my stress, help me with my time management, and and get rid of all that time I'm spending managing and correcting all the B and C players? Are you thinking, well, that's just not realistic? Well, that's why I created a system to help you attract, vet, and hire more A players. So according to Top Grading, most companies hire only about 25% of A players, and that's crazy. How do you build an organization, run and grow a great organization with 25% of your team being A players? And why is it only 25%? Because they don't have a system. Everybody's out there winging it. And if they hire slowly on whether they think, if they hire solely on whether they think someone has the skills to do the job, or culture-wise on whether they'd like to have a beer with a candidate, that's not a great system. I literally had a friend who has a company with over 100 employees that's how they assess culture. And they assess culture on that new candidate coming in and saying, well, would I want to go have a beer with them? I don't know about you, but I got a bunch of friends that I love going out and having a beer with or hanging out with or whatever that I don't want on my team. Okay, they don't necessarily fit the culture at work, or the don't have the skills to perform in our environment. So there are people I want to be social with and hang out with, but I don't necessarily want them on the team day in, day out, every day. Think about it this way. Have you ever picked a bad boyfriend or a bad girlfriend? So if that's how you're hiring all these staff people, are you going to have any better record? So hiring with your gut is not a repeatable or scalable process. It's just not scalable. It's highly subjective. And the only person I've ever seen do it with just amazing results and regularity is my wife, Kathy. She can walk through a waiting area and look at somebody and talk to them for 2 minutes, and she knows who we're going to hire, who we won't. Um, it's uncanny. It's actually great, but that's not scalable either. And the only times, by the way, that I thought she was wrong, I was wrong. So that's a wonderful skill to have, but I can't scale her. So Top Grading also says that companies could be hiring up to 90% A players with the right processes. That's 9 out of 10 A players. What would this do to your culture? Now, the problem for us smaller business owners is Top Grading is using companies like General Electric and these big monstrosities to make that 90% case. And do you have the resources of a GE? If you do, you should go hire the good people at Top Grading and get your systems done right. But if, like me, you don't have 300,000 employees on your team and you don't have $100+ billion in revenue, GE, then you might want a system that is designed for a business like yours with 5, 20, 100, 150 employees. And this is a system you can use. I built and implemented a system that's gotten us about 75 to 80% A players consistently for over the past 5+ years. It's not 90%, but I don't have GE's resources and expertise. And 75% beats the heck out of 25%. Now it's 3 out of 4 versus 1 out of 4. We'll address that other one in just a minute, but realize that some still slip through. Okay, and the system has been implemented by other companies with very, very similar results. It's been shown to be very consistent. And there's a safety net at the end, okay, to catch those that slip through, to catch them quickly and to limit the damage. There are people that interview really, really well. There are people that are going to get through the process. So you need a process on the back end to catch those and filter them out and make sure they don't stay around and ruin your company and culture. So to implement this system, I've created a course that takes you through the entire process. You don't have to reinvent and recreate the wheel. I'll include all the templates, forms, and materials referenced in the course to help you speed up implementation. And the course adapts the best practices and ideas as described in Top Grading while keeping them doable for a small business from the collective experience of the Results.com consultants from 17 years of hiring and building great teams. And it puts all of that into a process. Oh, by the way, also a whole lot of mistakes to be avoided. And it puts all this in a process that's usable and friendly for smaller businesses that don't have the HR resources of a company like GE. So a couple of people who've taken the course have shared some of this. This is a great course. Sturdy put together a nice process, finding good candidates and weeding out the not so good. Thanks again. Awesome course, everyone. I've hired hundreds of people in my day and still learned some ways to improve my hiring process. And this was posted to our Focus Forward Business Starter group on Facebook by one of the members. And you're welcome to join. That's a free group where we share ideas and information. But this was by one of the members. You need to buy this. The hiring course is one of the main reasons I've retired from treatment. If you get it, actually implement it, and don't like it, I will give you 2 times your money back. If you get it, implement it, and love it, you owe me a steak dinner next time I see you. Now, I'm not going to put the name here because I don't want to put them on the hook. You can't guarantee double your money back for the world. But this was actually something put out to our Facebook group of 100 people. And again, we're looking to grow that. So if you want to jump in there, you'll get some great information, insights, all for free as well. So here's what the course looks like. It's videos, just like this, diagrams, more specific, and explains each phase, all 11 phases of the recruiting and hiring process, or all 11 modules, not quite that many phases. And then there are quizzes. Okay, and if you want to have other members of your team, by the way, I will extend that to you if you decide to do it and you want to have other people enrolled for your company. I'll go ahead and do that for a couple of your key people to get them all on the same page, and then you can assess and make sure that you're all on the same page, that they pass the quizzes, they get through all that. And while you'll not need to reinvent the wheel, you will need to adapt the system to fit your business. Every business is a little bit unique. Every business has a little bit of a nuance. But in general terms, there's way, way more similarity than there is difference. And I will help you. Okay, so with this offer, I will work with you for 2 sessions, follow-up meetings to guide and facilitate the implementation to make sure that this is working for you. It is important that you have core values in place. Okay, and again, there are a few articles over on my blog at sturdymckee.com to get you started on what core values are if you don't have them, or if you need to refine or articulate, and also some of the pitfalls of what not to do. But having them in place and documented really, really is integral to supporting this process, and you don't have them in place, I can also help with that. So go to the link below, enroll today, bit.ly/recruit course, or you can go to my website and over here under Services, Courses and Memberships, How to Recruit and Hire A Players, go there and jump on and enroll. You will get all 11 modules of the Recruiting and Hiring A Players course, all the templates and forms and instructions that you can adopt and adapt to your business. There's 15 of them, and 2 follow-up meetings with me. And at the end, you'll have a system that can save you tens of thousands of dollars on a single bad hire. Okay, so go to the link that's below this video or type in bit.ly/recruit course and you'll go straight to the page. And you can contact me with anything always at sturdymckee.com/contact. There's a contact up there in the top right. That's my email and phone. reach out to me directly. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching this. I hope you found it valuable. Please stay in touch.